Who, what, where, when, and why? These are the questions we ask when a crime has been committed.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Veronica.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is our Art Heist podcast, where we talk about art heists that have happened in the past and not the future. And because we're not there yet. Season 3. Feature art heists. But yeah, this is what we do. We talk about art heists. We talk about the artwork that was stolen. We talk about the people who took it if we know who they are. We kind of explore the story together through our friendship as PIs and art people.
Yeah, we also happen to be private investigators who have backgrounds in the arts. We've worked in art museums and as art writers and in university galleries, all that good stuff. So what are we going to talk about this week?
I'm taking us to 1961.
Oh, what a great year.
London, the National Gallery. Not my favorite art institution in England, but
So
definitely
you've been there.
important. Yeah. I lived there, not in the National Gallery, but in London. And it was there, and I went through it a few times. So I did not know about the story in 2007 when I was wandering around the National Gallery.
What were you doing in London? You were living there?
I was living in London, and I was pursuing a pointless degree.
Oh, okay.
But one that actually got me a job, so maybe not pointless.
Right.
Yeah, so 1961, August 21st, 1961. And August 21st has a great significance in the realm of art heist because it is the date that the Mona Lisa was stolen, the first time the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre. And that is something that this art heist has in common with that art heist. So, a man whose identity I will disclose later because it's kind of a controversial one. It could be one of two people. We'll go into that later. But let's just say we know he's a man. So he climbs up a parking meter and jumps over the wall of the National Gallery, finds a ladder, props it up. It's a 6-meter ladder. I'm using British measurements right now. And he pushes a window open, a bathroom window, into the gents' room.
So you didn't go in the ladies.
Right.
Good choice.
This is right around dawn. He pushes himself through the window and he's in the museum. I should mention that he had planned this the day before by wandering through the museum and unlocking that window for the sake of doing this the following morning.
Good planning.
So he prepared. He's like, I don't want to bash a window. I'll just be civilized about it. And so he went into the gallery and he stole a painting by Goya. It's a portrait of Duke Wellington, or Duke of Wellington. And there's a whole story behind that I'm going to go into in a minute. But he just took it and he left. But it had significance that this person took this one painting by Goya. Do you want to know what it is?
I would love to know what it is.
All right, so let's go into some history of war. So back in 1808, Napoleon put his brother Joseph on the throne of Spain. Apparently, Joseph was a nice guy, but everyone hated him because he was affiliated with Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Duke of Wellington, he fought Napoleon's troops in Spain, and then he succeeded, and he entered Madrid in August of 1812, and he finally completely defeated the French forces by 1814. And this is a huge victory for not only England, but also Goya, who was in Spain and kind of witnessing all of this. And he had a lot of admiration for Wellington, or so historians say. So he did portraits. He did several portraits of him. And because the Duke of Wellington was a hero, this 1812 portrait of this military hero is very important to England. However, a New York collector named Charles Wrightsman, he had bid on the painting £140,000 at an auction. And this put England into a state of unrest, and they wanted it. They didn't want it to go to the United States. So they offered him £100,000 to make sure that it stayed in England. So
why were they selling it? Or was it?
It went to auction, and I'm not sure why it was even going to auction. It wasn't in the National Gallery yet.
Gotcha.
It had not been in the National Gallery.
So someone had it in their personal collection, and it was up for sale.
It goes to auction. Yeah.
Okay.
This guy has a lot of money. He wants it. England's like,
It's
do
staying
this.
here. So they're fighting for it.
Yeah. And so they win. They mount it in the National Gallery. And 19 days later, it's stolen. And it slips through a bathroom window. And no one saw it happen.
Nobody.
No guards saw it happen.
Wow.
It just happened very easily, it seems.
So was the museum open? I guess this was maybe like a nighttime? Was this a nighttime?
No, it was dawn. It was like,
Oh, dawn.
you know, it's like
Yeah.
the sun is starting to rise.
But it was before the museum was open, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the guards were starting to get in there. Mm-hmm. So this happens, and the director of the museum is incredibly humiliated. He offers his resignation, but it is rejected. He's like, I must leave.
Why does he think he needs to leave? It just seems a little much. It seems like an over the top gesture for something that he had no.
It wasn't really his
had,
fault.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault, and he could have just dealt with it in a different way. It seems. Maybe he was unhappy. You know what? Maybe he was not even digging this job and was looking for any reason to skedaddle, and that came up.
I think he wanted to be an
decided.
exiled museum director. I think he
That was his
secretly loved
ideal
Napoleon.
life.
Yeah. Anyway, they reject his resignation, and then they're like, well, we must improve the security conditions here. They do a night patrol, and all of that happens because this is the first time an art theft actually happened in the National Gallery of London. So they get like dogs, and
So they got a bunch of dogs after the theft, as if it was going to happen again.
night patrol dogs.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it was done quite easily, and that's embarrassing.
yeah, I think that's this. When this happens, most museums are embarrassed because, especially when you hear of how easy it was for the person to get in, or like in this case, someone just unlocked a bathroom door. It took no real, skill or brains. I mean, a little bit of brains. I mean, you have to plan that somewhat, but for
Some
the most
brains.
part, yeah, for the most part, yeah, that was pretty easy. So I can see where the embarrassment comes in.
Yeah. So then a ransom letter is sent 10 days later to 10 days
10 days later?
later 10 days later to the Scotland Yard. In the letter, the thief says, "The act is an attempt to pick the pockets of those who love art more than charity. The picture is not and will not be for sale. It is for ransom, £140,000 to be given to charity." And then later it's claimed that my sole object in all this was to set up a charity to buy television licenses for old, goddamn Xfinity popping up a window, for old and poor people who seem to be neglected in an affluent society. Which I would love to hear what Pierre Bourdieu would say about all this.
Yeah.
I mean, so then the following year, 1962, there's a pop culture reference to this theft because they haven't found it. They haven't found the work. They haven't found the person. And a James Bond movie comes out called Dr. No. And there's a scene where there's this portrait, the Duke of Wellington, in a room the villain is in. And Sean Connery, who's Bond, pauses while walking through this dining room of this villain's house, just points to this copy of Goya's Duke of Wellington and says, "Well, there it is."
Nice.
So at that point, it's a thing. It's like people know about it.
So it's a joke. You can make a joke like that,
can make jokes.
and people get it.
Yeah, but to back up,
I have a question about the ransom letter.
Yes,
So it was £140,000 that he requested, and so that was the same amount as the person in the United States was
exactly
going to pay. Okay,
right. And the ransom letter points to the fact that this is an important thing for the government to have this painting. They're going to put this money towards this work being in the National Gallery. It's a government-run gallery space, so to speak. It shows that, okay, this is a different kind of art heist, right? When these kind of ransom letters are being sent. It's common for ransom letters to be sent after an artwork is stolen, but of this kind, and for the money to be sent to a charity, very specifically a charity, I'm going to get into this a little bit more later, that goes towards the elderly in this country being able to watch the BBC for free.
Very
instead of
interesting.
being
very
taxed.
specific. That's a very specific charity.
Right.
Okay. Very
So-
curious about what the hell that's about.
Yeah. So then in 1963, a year after this letter, one very wealthy man in England says, his name is Spike Milligan, and he says,
That's a good name.
Yeah, he wants to contact those who have the missing Goya portrait in their possession, and he sympathizes with them and would like to attempt to meet them with a view to raising money independently to be donated to a charity of their choosing. And he said this was a sincere offer and done without the police or the authorities getting involved.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. What good That's a great strategy.
Well, it didn't result in anything. There's just radio silence.
Okay, well, good try, Spike.
Then the Royal Academy in London also got involved and said, we would like to offer money. And in exchange, we'll do a summer exhibition that will be discreet. And this will all be for this charity.
Mm-hmm. It's like, who can be more philanthropic?
Like, how else to get this money than... It's like a strange philanthropy. Help these people, damn it. Like, we're going to keep this painting... You know, we're going to keep it blindfolded and tied up until you give this money to this organization. So that's going on. Then the following year, 1963, there's a note from a man named Kempton Bunton.
That is not a real name. There's no way.
It is.
That sounds like a fake name. Okay.
It's a name in England. I don't even have the right accent for it, but...
Try.
And they're enclosed in the letter... is the label from the back of the painting, the original label.
Oh, so they're serious.
It's like someone sending a finger.
Yeah.
Like, I chopped off the finger of your daughter and
like, I'm not
give me the money. But this time the label has been taken off the painting. And there's a suggestion as to how they can deal with this, which is please give £140,000 to the agreed charity. Plus immunity from prosecution.
I gotta throw that in there.
Yeah. So
it's amazing to me that people trust when someone is given immunity. It's amazing that they trust it. Like, if I asked for immunity and someone's like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you immunity from prosecution," I don't think I would believe that. I would have to, I don't know, I would need a lot of things in writing before I believed that I was going to not get charged with anything.
I know. Okay. I've never been in that situation before, but
I'm not.
I would not trust their immunity offers either. So then in 1965, and I'm going to go back to this Kempton Bunton character, that his name has been revealed all of a sudden, but I just want to kind of
We're jumping ahead to 1965.
To the ransom note series, because there were several ransom notes over the course of several years.
Okay.
So in 1965, there's another letter, and it says, Goya's Wellington is safe. I have looked upon this affair as an adventurous prank. Must the authorities refuse to see it this way? I know now that I am in the wrong, but I have gone too far to retreat. Kind of interesting. I guess he hasn't gotten what he wanted yet, and...
So basically, he can't back down now.
Right, but he then proposes an anonymous return of the painting and wants an exhibition to happen.
This is so bizarre.
Why? But here's the caveat of the exhibition. Everyone who goes to see this exhibition of this one painting pays 5 shillings each. And then these funds are sent to the
charity. So that old people can watch BBC.
And also, P.S., the thief not be prosecuted.
Uh-huh.
Naturally. Okay. So the Daily Mirror, which I think is like a tabloid in England.
Yeah.
Maybe
I've heard of that one.
Was an important newspaper at some point. By important, I mean not such a tabloid, not such a gossip rag. But anyway... It takes up the challenge of organizing this exhibition. And I live there, and when you're sitting on the tube, going to wherever you go, the tube being the subway, these...
London.
Yeah. Newspapers, people are like handing them out to you at like 6:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just shoving them in your way. And
do you take them, or do you just...
At first, I would avoid them. I would be like, no. And then I started taking them after a couple months.
Why? Just, it was easier?
I didn't want to read theory. I didn't want to read about Rancière. I didn't want to read Marxism anymore on the tube. I wanted to read about
You wanted shitty
gossip.
Celebrity gossip.
I just wanted gossip.
Yeah.
Give me that gossip. So, yeah, they have some power there. Anyway, my computer just died. And
okay.
But that's cool because I have memory.
Good.
I have a few notes. Let's talk about Goya, actually, for a second. I feel like we're overshadowing Goya. Like we're not even addressing the importance of Goya here at all.
Yeah, Goya is an amazing artist with an amazing legacy.
Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorites. He's known as the last of the old masters, and Picasso is super influenced by Goya, and Guernica, his painting, was influenced by Goya's depictions of war. And what I love about Goya was that he was so obsessed with the truth of like human brutality, of war, of corruption. He wanted everyone to be exposed, and if he could do that with his art, then he would, and he did. So
he didn't hold back. He really went
back
into the darkness, kind of full speed ahead, and really dug in.
Full throttle.
Yeah. War, darkness.
There's some very disturbing pieces by him that are also incredible. Like he has those kind of paintings that once you look at them, you can never forget seeing them in a way. And, one being the 3rd of May, that's a very famous piece by him. But even, later in his life, he's also one of those painters that he was making work into his old age and wasn't really recognized until he was quite a bit older anyway. And he had this need to draw war of like the church being corrupt, of royalty being corrupt, even though he was a government artist. He painted the royal members, and he saw Spain transform during Napoleon's reign, and then return to itself. And then somehow he went to France, but then he died in France.
Do we know why he went to France? Or it was just a move that he chose later in life?
Yeah, he was like in his late 70s. Mm-hmm. He was very deaf. He was having a lot of struggles, and he went to Bordeaux, and died there. I don't think he was like, I want to go die in France. I think he just
he needed a change of pace.
He just wanted to go see some other place.
Yeah,
and then he died. And there's this weird story where Spain wanted his body back. They wanted to have his body, just like England wants to have Duke of Wellington, and they got his body back, and apparently the skull was missing.
Whoa.
So there's
creepy.
a theory that the skull was taken off the cadaver or whatever.
So that's like a second art heist within this art
I know.
heist.
Have we even explored the art heist where people steal the body parts of artists and keep them?
No.
So that's a little bit about Goya.
Someone maybe has Goya's skull.
Right.
Eee. Creepy.
And I'm so upset that my computer died. But here's what I want to talk about, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm really going to be missing some important information. So I'm going to go off the top of my head. And so then there's this whole issue with, what's his face? Kempton Bunton, the guy who claims
he has a pretty fake name.
And he at this point is like in his 60s. He's a bus and truck driver. He's not what people expected when they were investigating this whole heist. They did not think it'd be just dude.
Just your average truck driver, Joe.
Right.
Huh. Because I'm sure they're doing the thing where they assume that it's major warlords or, sophisticated criminals.
Or something sexy, at least.
Yeah, right. But they're not expecting old Kempton.
Yeah. Who claims this was done for the sake of being so upset about the fact that he had to pay, I believe, £4 a year to watch the BBC. There's like this licensing fee that he did not think the elder people of England should have to pay. Mm-hmm. He did return the painting and this is another similarity to the Mona Lisa being stolen. So that was when the first time the Mona Lisa was stolen, it was returned. Like anonymously, sort of, just like left somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. And in this case, he left a letter. The last letter was saying where it was, and it was in a bus station locker in Birmingham, England.
Oh, so like a little scavenger hunt.
Mm-hmm. So they opened it, and there it is.
And did they know his name at this time, or were they just going off these ransom letters?
Ransom letters, I believe.
Okay. All right. So his name wasn't revealed yet. They still didn't know who it was.
Right. So this is 1965. It's taken out of the bus station. It's the Goya. It is confirmed. And he's identifying himself, not as his actual name, but under the name Mr. Bloxham.
How do you spell that?
Bloxham.
Bloxham.
Which apparently is a reference to Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. Then, in July of 1965, this retired cab driver, truck driver, bus driver, in July of 1965, he walks into the police station to turn himself in. His name is Kempton Bunton, and he's a cuddly 252-pound grandfather, according to this Guardian article from 2011. It did not match any of their expectations, but they took it, and then it became a trial. He had an incredible lawyer. This lawyer argued successfully that the work was actually never really stolen. It was borrowed for the sake of justice. That there's an injustice, economic distribution within this country, and that all he did was borrow it. Now, because the frame...
As if it belonged to him to begin with?
As though, because it's a government affair.
Right.
And his tax dollars are going towards something. Wow.
That's kind of hey.
That's
a defense.
He succeeds at it because the only thing that at the end of all this, that Bunton is charged with is stealing the frame.
Wow.
And because I guess it was not included in the locker. And that results in 3 months in
3 months
prison. And then he's out.
Wow.
And
that's
then you know what
amazing.
happens after he dies?
What?
This licensing fee that he was so outraged by, that he thought was so disgusting that elderly people in England were being charged this fee. It was done away with. I mean,
because of him? Like in honor of his death?
I don't know. I don't know entirely,
but it just that no longer existed.
It was
after he died.
It was changed in the 70s. In 1971, it was changed. I mean, I don't know what their deal is right now. Like,
what
TV's very different now, but
for television,
yeah. The other side of this story is, and the reason I say we're not quite sure if it was him or not, because there's a theory that it was his son who did it.
Who did the actual theft?
John Bunton.
I mean, if we're talking about a grandfather here, a 225-pound grandfather, or whatever they had described it as.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't seem like someone who's going to be charging up a ladder and, I don't know.
Father and son heist. And the way I imagine it, why I'm attached to this heist, is I imagine this situation that I think many people can relate to, where you go hang out with your parents, your grandparents, and they're complaining about something that's just not right. You know, like, it shouldn't be that way. So his son is probably going to go visit his dad, and then his dad is like, I'm so upset I have to pay £4 a year to watch BBC. And eventually, you know, maybe his son does that thing that we all have in us to do, that moment when you've been hearing someone gripe about something for so long and they're just not doing anything about it. And you're like, fuck it, let's do something about it.
Right.
Dad, let's
hatch a plan.
What should we do? And then this brilliant son is like, let's just steal this Goya painting that is so important to them to make a statement.
Right. Switch of those priorities.
Right. And
they did it. I mean, they did it very successfully. I would say this might be one of the most
highly
successful
heist.
So they didn't get immunity, really, but they basically got immunity.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, if you get charged with stealing a frame, that's...
I know, 3 months.
So that means that people probably liked him in some way. I mean, if they were willing to be so lenient with him, he had to have... Maybe everyone hated that damn fee.
I think a lot of people did. And I think it spoke to, you know, as a public spectacle, people were able to weigh in. Newspapers were very involved in this heist. I mean, it was stolen, and it wasn't until 4 years later that this person comes and confesses. He turns himself in. Because maybe he was aware of how theatrical the justice system, especially in the 60s in England, could be, where certain lawyers could argue about the most ridiculous things. I mean, I've kind of looked at different cases that happened during that time period, and you can really see how they go to bat for something that lawyers go to bat for something that you think they would never succeed at winning a case, and then they do, which also speaks to the judges of that time. It's just so fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, there's sort of a Robin Hood vibe to this.
Yep.
That is, I could see why people would kind of get behind, like, because he was acting on behalf of the people.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of stealing from the rich to give to the poor, that whole thing. I mean, I could see why people would just say, you know what, let him go. He was just trying to do some stuff for us.
Yeah, and by the time he's turning himself in, he's just this old man who wanted to watch TV. Like,
it's adorable. Come on.
So cute. And Goya, I think, would have, had he been alive for all this, would have been, come on, everybody. My whole thing was exposing people for doing corrupt shit.
So what does the Goya painting look like?
It just looks like a dude. Are you going to look it up on your phone because my computer's dead?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, Duke of Wellington. So he's wearing his gear. He's a war hero.
Oh.
It's not a piece that you would, I mean, if I didn't know the story behind it and I saw it, I would just walk on.
It's really not that great of a painting.
What it represents is...
No offense, Goya. We love you.
I mean, he doesn't care. I'll just speak on his behalf. I'm presented at the time that it was bought, you know, this Kempton Bunton character was glued to the news and paying attention to everything and griping, and this idea is hatched probably first as a joke and then becomes a reality and then becomes a strange thing like that is on the stage of the media in England and beyond.
Yeah. I've got to be honest, he also looks a little flushed. The Duke he's quite rosy.
I know.
And he's got all of his little
regalia.
Regalia. That's the word I wanted. Yeah. And a very stylish red coat. I'm a big fan of red coats. He's got one. All right. I'm warming up to this painting the more I look at it.
It's like one of those things that the painting is, I mean, he means nothing to me. Or he wouldn't have had I not known the story. But now that I do know, the next time I'm in London, I'm definitely going to beeline to that painting. I'm going to go right past Lucian.
Okay.
Right past all the stuff that I'm actually kind of curious about. And I'll be like, Duke of Wellington. There you are. You went through a bathroom window. You hung out in the suburbs of England for years.
With Kempton.
And here you are again.
You helped people watch TV. It's great.
Thank you.
Duke of Wellington. What I like, I mean, part of the reason why I like looking at these paintings that are stolen is to imagine, like, it's fun to imagine this painting sitting in that grandfather's living room and him staring at this amazing work of art and just piece of history in the privacy of his own home, and just knowing what he has, like that feeling I can't ever imagine until obviously we pull off the art heist that we will do at some point in our lives.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
I cannot wait.
And so until that moment, I really like thinking about people having these works of art in their house.
Me
and
too.
Just sitting on it.
And like sweating when they look at it. You know, they're like, wow, this is worth 140,000 pounds of TV watching. Anyway, let me find one of these letters. There's some really good ones.
So these ransom letters, were they on a typewriter, or how could they not trace it back to him? Or were they the classic cut out of magazine?
Honestly, I believe they were just typed up or written and sent to the police. I don't think back then they were
doing fingerprints and all that.
Yeah.
Maybe they were doing fingerprints and Kempton wore gloves.
Oh, Kempton didn't even do it. I think his son did,
John.
but I don't even know if they wore gloves, to be honest.
Did they have gloves back then in the 60s? I don't know.
Yeah, this is like a third ransom letter that they send, and it's like the terms are the same. An amnesty in my case would not be out of order. The Yard are looking for a needle in a haystack, but they haven't a clue where the haystack is. I'm offering 3 pennyworth of old Spanish firewood in exchange for 140,000 pounds of human happiness.
Wow.
A real bargain compared to a near million for a scruffy piece of Italian cardboard.
Damn.
Cheeky, as they say.
That's actually a great ransom letter.
I know.
Quite the linguist.
I mean, they had some fun.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like they're having a lot of fun. A lot of fun with this crime. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. And so I think this is one of my favorite heists. It's in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the motivation behind it is really interesting because it's not so self-centered, or it's not just for the individual's benefit.
Right.
It really is
for
about
the people.
It's for the people and their television.
Yeah.
I wonder, so why were the elderly people being charged? I wonder why it was just old people and not everybody.
No, everyone was being charged. But,
okay.
But there was this belief that people who are retired or elder should not be charged. Like, they've done their time.
They paid their dues, give them a break.
Yeah, like, give us TV.
Right.
Like,
they can't do much. Just
we can't play football anymore, like
right.
soccer. I mean, like, we can't play cricket. And
I'm really a fan of your accent.
It's horrible. But, give us the telly.
Okay. I think we're yeah. One more?
Nope.
Okay. Fine.
Bloody hell.
I knew it was there. I knew you had one more in you.
You know my favorite word that people said all the time when I lived there? Knackered.
Oh, that's like tired.
I'm tired.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Run into people and they'd be like, knackered. Hey, how are you? And that was like always the response that I received. It's like the equivalent of, I guess, the American busy.
Oh, right.
So busy.
Yeah.
So busy.
Yeah.
But knackered sounds better. Just knackered.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
Come on.
Let's
I mean,
just
I think they're
start
doing it still.
Yeah.
But let's bring it here.
Let's
across
bring it
the
here.
pond.
Yeah,
to
not
Tennessee.
back. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's a very good art heist. I like that one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vero.
Thank you. And I'm sorry that my computer died because I had some more information, but oops.
Well, also I want to give a shout out to Julia Martin for making an amazing artwork for our last episode. If you haven't heard the episode, it is about the 1985 de Kooning theft from Tucson, Arizona, and Julia
Love what she did.
Yeah, she did a really cool
She superimposed one of the faces of the thieves.
One of the
two
suspects,
thieves, Rita, onto a de Kooning.
Yes.
Yes. I think
it's pretty brilliant. So if you haven't seen it, go look at it.
I love the sacrilegious aspect of it, and I like the way she did it.
We love sacrilege on this podcast.
Yes.
So if you go to our Instagram, Thick as Thieves Forever, you can see her work of art. It's great.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.
This is a podcast brought to you by We Own This Town, the Nashville Network for Podcasts.
And our theme song is by Patrick Damphier.
And our artwork for the podcast is by Saskia Keultjes.
And the episode-specific artwork is by whichever artist
jumps in to
do
it in time. Artist that we talked to. Goodbye.
Bye.